Hey, I'm Xav de Matos, the feature content director at Joystiq.com, and my favorite game of the last decade is Half-Life 2. Now, it may not be a bold choice, but Half-Life 2 represents more than just a singular product to me. When it launched in 2004, it ushered in what would be the changing face of the PC games market. Namely, it was distributed digitally by Valve and its brand new digital platform, Steam. Now, you may remember that Steam's introduction to the world was a pretty rocky one. The platform was just littered with bugs when it first launched. But 10 years later, it's evolved and it's now become the de facto PC platform. If you launch a game on PC now and it's not on Steam, customers will be vocal in their disapproval. Half-Life 2 also brought another important element to the industry, the Source engine, which powers everything from revamped classic mods as standalone games like Counter-Strike, all the way to next-generation titles like Titanfall. And of course, where would we be without the engine that brought us games like Portal and Left 4 Dead, Team Fortress 2, and the ever-growing Dota 2? But what about the game? Why is Half-Life 2 my favorite game of the last decade? Continuing the story from the original Half-Life, which was a pioneer in storytelling, Valve introduced us to a world after war, a police state that was born out of the mistakes made at the Black Mesa research facility. It introduced us to new and amazing characters. We got to play with physics and the gravity gun, and we got to visit the most memorable locations I've seen in games. Stepping into the infested mining town at Ravenholm, or walking off that train in the beginning at City 17, those are some of my favorite gaming memories. And Half-Life 2 told a story that at its heart is about endurance and survival in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. I won't argue with anyone who tells me that they really hated that airboat sequence, but to me Half-Life 2 was level after level of new challenge, location, and game styles. It's a mix that we just rarely see in games anymore. And that feeling of getting a new Half-Life, seeing the promotional boxes on those store shelves, and knowing that it was just around the corner after so many years of waiting, it was just pure joy when I finally got my hands on it. Over the last couple of weeks, the Joystiq staff individually have been trying to select their favorite 10 games of the last 10 years, and that is just such a difficult task. So many amazing games have come out in the last decade that it's really difficult. But Half-Life 2 wins out for me because it's helped shape my perception of what I think a complete game should be. It's a game that places story in as high regard as gameplay, and I love Half-Life 2 and Half-Life 1 for doing that. And one day, we'll get our conclusion. We'll get Half-Life 3, and we'll find out how this story ends. Unless, of course, the game was announced while I was doing this video, in which case, I'll just look at Twitter and see if it's... No. I didn't even turn on my phone. It's just never coming out. I think they're making hats? I don't know. Sorry.